First game on Saturday. San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. At our show sponsor, BetMGM, Ken, the number currently sits San Diego State a juiced 1.5, 1.75, as some would say. 1.5 minus 115. The Aztecs favored against the Owls of Florida Atlantic. Total sitting 131.5. FAU plus 110 to win and advance to the Natty. San Diego State at minus 130. Your initial thoughts? Any early bets here? San Diego State and FAU.
I don't have like as strong opinion as I had in FAU's last game, I guess, but it's kind of the same thing. I just, I think KenPom makes the game like 1. A bunch of ratings have San Diego State slightly better. I just, it's just purely almost like not even just having watched both teams, but just thinking about like how those ratings are put together. And I'm not saying the Mountain West was like the greatest conference of all time this year. It just seems like FAU just gets like crapped on all the time from a rating standpoint because of the conference that they played in. They lost, they lose 3 or 4 games in the 4 games, right? In the regular season, something like that, 3 or 4. And there was like, I was looking through their schedule. I was looking through their schedule and I was like, oh, like if you, they were 35-3 and all 3 losses were in true road games. So if you look at their home neutral, they haven't lost a game to anybody the entire season, which is like, pretty impressive. I get why the rating is what it is. They didn't play as strong a non-conference as a bunch of the other teams that made the tournament, or like as the power conference teams like play a really good non-conference slate. That hurts them. The conference they play in hurts them. I just think they're better than this. I really do. And now having watched them, I definitely feel that way. Having watched them for like a couple weeks, like San Diego State is like incredibly physical and plays incredible defense. They also go through like prolonged periods of every single game where they can't shoot. And Florida Atlantic is like incredibly balanced and good at everything. I don't think they should be, just like I didn't think they should be a dog to Kansas State. It's like the identical handicap here. I think they just like continue to be penalized for who they played and not the fact that they're that good. So I don't like them as much against K-State. I like that market more and the setup for the game more. This is like a little bit different because we're changing arenas and maybe like the sight lines and the fact that they're playing in Houston, like maybe that does actually help San Diego State because like no one can shoot. So if no one can shoot, here's the great defensive team. Whereas that would have penalized San Diego State more in like a different gym maybe. But like short of that, I do like FAU in the game. So not as big of a bet just because like when you go to the Final Four and there's these sites are just so weird sometimes, like I feel like I never feel as confident like that I think something's going to happen because it's like you're playing the game on Mars or something in terms of like these kids and like the environment that they're in. So like maybe then San Diego State's a little better, but in general, I don't agree with that. I think FAU is actually just better. And I hope that kind of shows through on Saturday.
I have not made a bet yet in this game. I actually think I might bet San Diego State. We can talk more about it over the course of the week. Ken, I want to get your thoughts here on UConn and Miami in the segment, though. We'll have a lot to say on this game from Wednesday through Friday. Ken and I both off tomorrow because we're working again on Saturday morning. I count out to tip off 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. Ken, Connecticut, a 5.5-point favorite against Jim Larrañaga and the U. Total 149.5, the nightcap on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're saving time because this is like the better game, and UConn's like a huge favorite to win the title. I don't have a clue what's going to happen in this game. I mean, I have no clue. I didn't bet Texas Miami for that exact same reason. I don't have any idea. I've got Miami wrong 20 times. I didn't bet the Texas game. They're playing way above expectation. They're in the exact same situation they were in the last couple games. Dog to a team that has more talent and they're better coached. And in this game, I think they're better coached by light years. Maybe UConn just blows out everybody again. Like maybe it just keeps happening. I have 1 million against Gonzaga, 1 million against Arkansas. Who cares if like these like close game Dan Hurley, his narrative that like I've said 50 times, maybe it just never happens. Like could definitely be true. They're way more talented, but like Larrañaga versus Hurley is like a pretty big mismatch, I think, and they're getting a bunch of points. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I think that's fine. Connecticut's definitely better. They're definitely like by margin better. What effect does playing in Houston at that gym have on this game? Seems to be advantage UConn. Just like they can generate easy baskets, like better against Miami's defense, and Miami's like a one-trick pony. They just score with their guards a ton. What happens if no one can shoot in the gym? Then Miami scores 50 points and they lose by 100. I think that's possible too. No idea.
Maybe the under worth a look then, sitting 149.5 UConn and Miami. When we met up in the hotel in the lobby in Vegas at the MGM Grand a couple weeks ago now, I think it was like, hey, like, what are you on here tournament wise? And you were like, I bet no 3 seeds to make the Final Four. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bet this too. And then bet it.
And there's a lot of ways to make that
times.
bet. Yeah,
yes.
like even if you didn't get it, like you could bet like them, you could parlay them individually to not make the Final Four because they're in different regions. You could either like a bunch of, you could bet head to heads with them versus other schools, whatever. It took a while to get them all out this year. The paper tigers that were threes, Miami is the first one that's ever made it. And that's one of the reasons why they're so surprising. I even had somebody be like, I forget how that was phrased, and I knew this was coming because anytime you do work on anything, any sporting event, and you like provide historical context, like I'm making this bet because historically, like these teams tend to do better than these other teams, and then a team like Miami will win. It'd be like, oh, like you said it was a sure thing, or like guess you're wrong, like guess the numbers are wrong, and it's just like. This stuff used to bother me, and now I'm just like, I actually kind of laugh because it's just like, go out of my way to be like, look, like this is just not how sports works. It's just not. But it can inform your decision making. Like you can't look at the data and be like, it would have been tough for me to look and be like, I love Miami in the tournament, even price considered. And so the fact that they've gone on this run, although really unexpected to me, it's just like, yeah, this is the way it goes sometimes. Really, like, have you seen the tournament? Really random stuff's happening around every single corner and might not be done. And we'll talk about it as we go. Like it's easy to just be like, well, now it's UConn and that's it. And so like play it that way, except the market is completely formed around that same opinion that it's UConn and that's it. And if this tournament has proved one thing, it's that when we form an opinion and expect something, the opposite has happened so far. Maybe that doesn't happen this round. Maybe it just becomes UConn 2 easy wins. They win the title at the end. Or, as soccer announcers like to say, is there a sting in the tail? Is there something unexpected that's going to happen right at the end here that gives us one of the craziest champions, probably the craziest champion by a large margin ever?
I watch a lot of soccer. I don't know if I've ever heard that particular phrase.
So this was a running joke during the ESPN used to have it may still have the Euros, the rights to them, although Fox probably has it now or something. So
no, I think ESPN still has. I think ESPN has the Euros, right?
Yeah. So in the this would have been what years are the Euros on? Because it's off World Cup. So what is it? 8, 12, 16?
8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Yeah, correct. Exactly.
So 8 and 12, I was a part of the production team to do like all the highlights for the matches. And in 8 and
Spain
12, that was like 8 and 12, that was a really common phrase that we would all use in like the production meetings and stuff. And like some of my other supervisors would use too. So whoever was doing 8 and 12, maybe they don't do many games anymore. I don't remember who called those games, although it's the same pool of announcers like every tournament. So it's probably somebody, but it was just because there had been so many last second goals in that tournament that like every time it's like, oh, there's a sting in the tail, which I always just thought was like a really, really funny turn of phrase.